Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie and today I'm doing my September plan with me in my bullet journal. I'm not really going to talk about my bullet journal setup this month because if you've seen my past few bullet journal setups, you'll notice that this is the exact same setup I've been using for the past few months. This setup has been working really well for me. I really enjoy it, and this setup also kind of helps me be the most productive. The only difference is that last month my setup included blues, grays, and mountains, whereas this month my setup includes yellows, grays, and something somewhere between floral and botanical. I don't know what you would call those little plants. But yeah, so like I said, I don't really have much to say about my bullet journal spread this month. And so I thought I'd talk to you guys about the books I've been reading and how that's been going. If you saw my video last week, it was my September TBR video where I picked out prompts and book titles out of a little box to figure out what books were going to be my September TBR. And I ended up picking 7 books this month. And so far, I have read exactly 0 books that are on my September TBR. I have, however, read 3 extra books. So in last week's video, I said that Catching Fire, if I didn't finish it in August, I would just drag it into September. So I guess unofficially it's on my TBR, or it was on my TBR. But I finished Catching Fire a few days ago. I actually ended up listening to the audiobook for the second half of it. And the audiobook is really good. I kind of wish I had started with the audiobook for the first book and just read them all back to back like that. But the narration was really good in the audiobook for Catching Fire and Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. And I really enjoyed them. I actually enjoyed the trilogy a lot more than I expected to. I finished Catching Fire, and then I almost immediately the next day went to Mockingjay because I really just had to know what was going to happen next. And like I said, I loved it. It was such a good book. It was so well written. It was well narrated. Katniss's character, actually looking back at it, is so interesting in the fact that while she is incredibly important to the resistance, she's definitely not in charge. And while she can make some decisions and she can influence them by, dangling her willingness to cooperate in front of everyone, she's not going to call the final shots. And then also, especially in the last book, you can kind of see her mental health and well-being deteriorate with everything that's going on between, Peeta's issues and then all the missions they're carrying out and what happened to District 12. It's very stressful and interesting to watch in that sense because you kind of just see how hard she's affected and everything and how she slowly deteriorates. And she's so different from how she was at the beginning of the trilogy because at the beginning of the trilogy she was essentially no one and she had no influence, but for the most part her mental well-being and her decision-making capabilities seemed okay. Whereas by the end of the series, she has seen so much and been through so much that while she is incredibly important in the media, especially as far as manipulating the storyline to make everything seem normal, she isn't in charge of anything either. But she is the face that the people turn to. And so that's really interesting. And then I actually read a Twitter thread the other day about, quick spoiler alert, Prim dies. And so, reading the Twitter thread was really interesting because it talked about, how Prim very much symbolizes purity and all that's good and how she can't continue to prosper and live in that world and remain good, so she had to die. And I thought that was really interesting. It was sad, but very interesting, and something that I don't know if I would have thought of on my own, and if I had, it would have taken a very long time for me to think of that. But yeah, if I go back and am able to find the Twitter thread, I will link it because I thought it was really interesting. I don't think I've retweeted it. I may have liked it though. But yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed this trilogy a lot more than I ever thought I would. Whenever I first read the first book back in, I think, 8th grade, I didn't love it. I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I didn't have the strong urge to continue reading. And then I reread the first book in June, and I liked it. And I figured I'd get to reading the other books sometime this year, maybe next year. And then I ended up reading Catching Fire, and I loved it. I had to keep going, especially after the way it ended. But yeah, those are the first two books I've read this month. And then today, which today for me is Monday, September 7th, I read The House on Mango Street. I picked up the book this morning at Walmart while I was getting groceries for my cousin's birthday, and she turned 13. And I wanted to get her a book because I know she likes reading, but I didn't know what book to get her. I thought it was between, because our Walmart didn't have a very good selection of books for like her age group. Um, I was between what's it called? A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, and The House on Mango Street by Sandra. I cannot remember her last name, but I ended up going with The House on Mango Street because I really enjoyed the Hunger Games trilogy, and I think Dustin, my little cousin, would like it as well, but I'm not sure. She hasn't read it yet. And then I didn't want to go ahead and let her read, or I didn't want to pick up the new Hunger Games book because I don't know like how old like that is as far as like YA goes. Because some books that are YA are very like older YA, like obviously meant for late high school to early young adult. Whereas like some YA is aged down more for junior high. And so I didn't know where that would fall on that spectrum. And so The House on Mango Street seemed interesting because I remember reading that book in 6th grade for school. We studied that book in my English class in 6th grade. And while I didn't remember the book vividly, I did remember the carnival scene towards the end of the book fairly vividly. I don't know why that scene has stuck with me for so long, but that scene has. And so I decided I really wanted to read the book. And then I knew I'd be giving it to her later this afternoon. So it's only 110 pages. But I checked the book first or I checked to Libby and Scribd, and it was available on Scribd as an audiobook, but not to me at this time. I think I've listened to all my audiobooks I can for the time being. And then it wasn't on my Libby at all for my local library. So I went ahead and read my cousin's copy. I made sure not to put the spine or anything, that way it would still be new to her. But yeah, it was a really nice experience reading it. I read it during the 2-ish hours that Rowan was napping, and I loved the way it was written, like the vignette style, because each chapter, focused on one specific thing, whether it was the house itself, the neighbors, stuff like that. And I just really liked the way it was written, and I think I appreciated that book so much more as an adult than I did in junior high. I don't remember disliking it in junior high, but it was a book I had to read for a class, so I probably didn't like it that much at the time. But reading it again as an adult, I really appreciate it, and the way it was written and what it was about, I thought was very interesting, and I liked it, and now I need to get my own copy to have because I want to reread it again in the future. It was very interestingly written. I currently have 2 books reading in progress. The first is The Beauty and Breaking by Michelle Harper. I'm still only through the first chapter. I haven't really touched it at all this week, but I'm about somewhere between a third and half of the way through The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh on Libby. I think I have 5 days left on my Libby hold before I have to turn it in or renew it. And I'm enjoying it so far. It's like one of those books that really intimidated me because of how long it's been on my Goodreads TBR. I believe it's been on my Goodreads TBR for about a year now. And so I had really high hopes for it, and I really have been excited to read it, and I've been wanting to read it. But also, it's been starting to intimidate me because every month I put off reading it. It's like my thoughts and hopes get higher and higher, even though there's no real reason for them to, because as far as I know, I've never read a Renee Ahdieh book. And so I don't have like any particular hopes or thoughts about her writing style because I've never read anything by her. However, like it's one of those books I want to read. I know I've wanted to read, and even though I know hardly anything about it besides the summary that they tell you to get you to read it, I have unreasonably high expectations for it. And so finally starting to read it has been intimidating. Like I read a chapter or two, then I get stressed out and have to put it away, and then I go back to it, and then something happens, or I get stressed out again and put it away again, And so, yeah, reading it has been a very slow process because of that, but I've got to get through it. It's not bad. I'm actually really enjoying it, but also I'm stressed, and for some reason, I put too high of hopes on this book I know nothing about. But so far, I'm enjoying the characters. I'm enjoying, I think her name might be pronounced Shazad, and how she, like how just strong-willed she is, and her willingness to avenge her friend. And then also, it's really interesting reading about how, like, she's catching herself, starting to catch feelings for Khalid, who murdered her friend, um, and she doesn't like it. But yeah, hopefully this next week I will make some more progress on my actual September TBR. But if I do or don't, I will probably let you guys know somewhere, somehow, on Instagram. I will probably let you know on Twitter actually. I retweet stuff and occasionally share Instagram posts or videos. But for the most part, Twitter's just not my thing. But yeah, anyways, this video is going to be ending in just a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next week about something. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Bye.